The Dyatlov Pass Incident. What really happened? 9 young hikers. A remote mountain pass. A night of terror that ended with every single one of them dead. Their tent was found slashed open from the inside. Their bodies scattered across the snow, half-dressed, some barefoot, some brutally injured. One of them was missing her eyes. Another, her tongue. For decades, nobody could agree on what happened. Was a secret Soviet weapons test, a Yeti attack, UFOs, or something far stranger? The Dyatlov Pass Incident has become one of the most haunting mysteries in modern history. It has inspired books, films, conspiracy theories, and heated debates among scientists and storytellers alike. But behind the theories, behind the sensationalism, lies a tragic story of 9 young people, friends, whose lives ended in a way that still defies easy explanation. And tonight, we're going to walk step by step through that story. We'll meet the hikers themselves, retrace their final journey, follow the rescue teams who discovered the grisly scene, and pull apart every theory ever suggested. Because to truly understand this mystery, you need to experience it the way they did. Full of laughter and ambition at the start, shrouded in snow and silence in the middle, and ending with a cold that not even the strongest among them could survive. So what really happened on that mountain in 1959? Let's find out. It was late January 1959. In the Soviet Union, the Cold War was in full swing, but for a group of students at the Ural Polytechnic Institute, life was about more than politics. They were dreamers, adventurers, and athletes who craved the challenge of nature. Leading them was 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, brilliant, meticulous, and respected among his peers. Dyatlov had already led several successful winter treks. For him, this expedition wasn't just a hike, it was a test, a chance for him and his group to earn the highest sports certification available in Soviet mountaineering. The group wasn't made up of amateurs. These were strong, seasoned hikers who knew how to handle brutal Siberian conditions. Still, each of them carried their own unique spirit into the journey. There was Zina Kolmogorova, known for her toughness and resilience. Someone who laughed in the face of hardship. Her diary would later be filled with both light-hearted jokes and hints of fatigue. Rustam Slobodin, a tall, athletic man with a natural charm, was always pushing himself physically. He loved endurance, and in many ways, seemed built for survival. Lyudmila Dubinina, fiery and outspoken, often clashed with others but was deeply loyal. Her sharp wit filled the pages of her journal. Alexander Kolevatov, serious and methodical, studied nuclear physics, someone with both brains and brawn. Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, half French by heritage, carried a reputation for his easygoing personality. Semyon Zolotaryov, the oldest of the group at 38, was a late addition, a decorated World War II veteran. Some of the students didn't know him well, but he was experienced and eager. And finally, there was Yuri Yudin. Plagued by chronic health problems, Yuri set out with the group, but would eventually turn back after falling ill. His decision, heartbreaking at the time, saved his life. Years later, he would describe the loss of his friends as something that never left him. Together, these 10 hikers packed skis, a large canvas tent, notebooks, diaries, and cameras. They wanted to document every step of their expedition. None of them could have imagined that their photographs and journal entries would later become chilling evidence in a mystery the world would never stop asking about. On January 23rd, they boarded a train and began their journey northward. Spirits were high. Laughter, songs, and diary entries captured their excitement. They joked about the freezing temperatures, about broken equipment, even about each other. These were young people in their element, facing challenge with nepotism and humor. None of them knew that within just 2 weeks, every one of them, except Yuri, would be dead. Their journey into the northern Urals was not easy. First, a long train ride, then a truck through icy roads. Finally, they strapped on skis and began their trek into the wilderness. The mountains they entered were remote, wild, and unforgiving. Locals called the slope they would eventually camp on Koletsyakal. Translated from the Mansi language, it meant mountain of the dead. But to the hikers, this was just another challenge. They carried skis, heavy packs, and optimism. Their diaries at first reflected a joyful mood. Jokes about the cold, playful teasing, songs around the fire. On January 31st, they set up a temporary camp in the forest and cached food and supplies for their return trip. It was a smart, experienced move. They expected to be back in a matter of days. The next morning, February 1st, they began their climb toward the pass. The weather, however, began to turn against them. Fierce winds, poor visibility, driving snow that made every step exhausting. At one point, they drifted off course, instead of backtracking to the safety of the tree lintel. Igor Dyatlov made a decision. He chose to set up camp on an exposed slope high up the mountain. Why? Perhaps he wanted to save time. Perhaps he wanted to practice camping on a slope, a skill needed for their certification. Or perhaps he simply believed they were strong enough to endure it. That choice, whether bold, reckless, or simply unlucky, would seal their fate. When the group missed their expected return date, families grew uneasy. Days passed, still no word. On February 20th, a large search operation was launched. Volunteers, students, and military personnel combed the mountains. Even local Mansi tribespeople joined the effort. The searchers expected to find signs of delay, perhaps an injured hiker, perhaps just a group slowed by weather. What they found instead was silence. For days, there was nothing, just endless snow, footprints erased by the wind, and an overwhelming stillness. Then, on February 26th, they discovered the tent. It was not buried. It was not blown away. It was still standing, collapsed under light snow. But with one shocking detail, the canvas had been cut open from the inside. Inside, boots, coats, and half-prepared food remained untouched. It looked as if the hikers had fled suddenly, leaving behind everything they needed to survive. Searchers followed tracks leading down the slope, tracks that were orderly, not frantic. They led toward the tree line. What lay waiting there would shock even the most seasoned rescuers. At the edge of the forest, under a tall cedar tree, the first 2 bodies were found. They belonged to Yuri Doroshenko and Georgy Krivonischenko, the jokers, the entertainers of the group. They were barefoot, dressed only in underwear. A small fire burned nearby, as if they had tried desperately to survive the cold. Nearby branches on the cedar were broken, as if someone had climbed high, perhaps to look for the tent or perhaps to escape something. Between the tree and the tent, 3 more bodies were discovered: Dyatlov, Kolmogorova, and Slobodin. They lay in positions suggesting they were trying to crawl back uphill. The search paused. For weeks, nothing more was found. Then, in May, the snow melted enough to reveal the final 4. They were discovered in a ravine under several feet of snow. Their injuries were horrifying. 2 had crushed ribs. 1 had a fractured skull. Ludmila Dubinina's eyes were missing. Her tongue was gone. The official investigators could not explain it. These were not typical injuries from hypothermia. They resembled the aftermath of immense pressure, as though from a car crash. And yet, there were no external wounds, no signs of a fight, no evidence of an attack. The case quickly slipped from tragedy into mystery. Official Soviet report concluded that the hikers had died from a compelling natural force. But what did that mean? Theories flooded in. Some are rooted in science, others in folklore, many in pure imagination. Theory 1, a Yeti attack. The idea of a snow monster roaming the Urals captured imaginations. Some rescuers whispered that the scene looked unnatural. Broken branches, crushed ribs. Could a massive beast be responsible? But no tracks, no claw marks, no defensive wounds were ever found. Theory 2, the Mansi people. The local indigenous Mansi had legends tied to the mountains. Some speculated that the hikers had been attacked for trespassing, but the Mansi were peaceful and no evidence supported the idea. Valuables were left untouched, and there were no signs of struggle. Theory 3, military experiments. This was one of the most enduring. Witnesses in nearby towns reported strange glowing orbs in the sky that night. Some of the hikers' clothing tested positive for radiation. Could they have stumbled into a secret Soviet weapons test? It's intriguing, but radiation levels were low and not unusual for certain materials. No signs of explosions or burns were present. Theory 4, UFOs. Aliens, abductions, paranormal energy. Some argued that only something otherworldly could explain the missing eyes, the tongue, and the strange injuries. But as dramatic as it sounds, this theory explains nothing about the footprints, the calm evacuation, or the stormy weather. Theory 5, infrasound and katabatic winds. Modern explanations include powerful winds that could cause panic or even infrasound frequencies that trigger irrational fear. While interesting, these do not account for the specific injuries and the calm way the hikers walked away from the tent. None of these theories fit every fact. The mystery only deepened. For years, an avalanche was dismissed. The slope seemed too shallow. The tent was never buried. But in 2019, Russian investigators reopened the case. Their conclusion? A small avalanche drove the hikers from their tent. In 2021, Swiss scientists ran advanced simulations. They found that the slope, though only 23 degrees, could produce a slab avalanche if weakened by the hikers cutting into it for their tent. Hours later, the snow collapsed. The injuries matched perfectly. Broken ribs, crushed skulls, not from an attack, but from the blunt force of snow. Imagine the night. The hikers asleep. The slope shifts. Snow collapses, crushing part of the tent. Panic, but not chaos. They cut their way out. They leave behind boots, coats, and food. They walk, calmly but urgently, toward the trees. Two light a fire, but the cold overwhelms them. For attempt to build a snow shelter in a ravine, but it collapses, killing them instantly. The final three try to climb back to the tent. Exhaustion and freezing temperatures claim their lives one by one. By morning, silence. Why did the mystery endure for over 60 years? Because the truth felt too ordinary. The cut tent, the missing eyes, the bizarre injuries. All these details fueled legend. People preferred aliens, conspiracies, monsters, or military cover-ups to the cruel simplicity of snow, wind, and cold. Books, films, documentaries, and online debates have kept the story alive. The Dyatlov Pass has become more than a place. It's a symbol of the unknown. The Dyatlov hikers were not reckless thrill seekers. They were skilled, prepared, and determined. Their tragedy became myth, but the reality is just as haunting, a mountain that gave them no mercy. So what do you think? Does the avalanche theory finally close the case? Or do you believe something else happened that night? And here's a challenge for you. If you were in that tent, would you have stayed or fled into the storm? Tell me in the comments. And if you found this journey through one of history's darkest mysteries compelling, hit like, subscribe, And join me next time as we uncover more stories the world can't stop questioning.